It's 11 a.m. and that can only mean one thing. It's time for Driving Maul right here live on Loud Radio. Sean, good morning.
Hello. Did you have a good weekend?
I did, mate. It was pretty good, and there was certainly plenty of rugby to be excited about.
There was, and some interesting things came out of this weekend as well.
Yeah, plenty, particularly in Super Rugby and misbehaving players and all kinds of other nonsense. And we will get on to Super Rugby in the latter part of the show. First up, though, just covering just some random rugby news. Vancouver's been added to the Sevens circuit for 2015-16 ahead of the World Cup year. They'll be the 10th stop on the World Sevens circuit, and there's a possibility...
Added?
Yes, added. And they become the 10th stop. And there's a possibility that Singapore will be taking over from Tokyo. They will be announcing this in the next couple of months.
Well, that's interesting. So, yeah, that'll obviously change the dynamic a little bit with an extra hello?
Oh, there's that microphone issue again. It's always that one.
Hi. Right, that's obviously going to change the dynamics a little bit. But having an extra one, but also in terms of the changes with Singapore and stuff like that, I do believe that we might be in for a change on a South African venue soon.
Yeah, well, it looks like that they'll obviously have to rejig the tournament as well, because at the moment Australia's a weekend on its own, and then everyone else, every other tournament, they back up 2 weeks running.
Yeah,
they go Dubai, South Africa, and then New Zealand, USA, and then Hong Kong, Tokyo, and then England,
Australia,
Scotland.
Yeah, and Australia starts it all off.
Obviously,
with nine stops, it's difficult to double everything up. But and then so it kind of makes sense. Maybe they'll do that. Maybe it'll be in the beginning parts of it.
We'll see. Look, we're going to find out. On the plus side, Canada's getting some sevens rugby, which could be an interesting afternoon to weekend's drinking. On to Varsity Cup and some upsets this weekend.
There was yesterday. Definitely some upsets and one and two that worth talking about. The one is Marty's took 50.
I know, 53-8 against Tuks, and that, I mean, Marty's haven't looked great this season. They've picked up 2 draws in their opening games, but for them to be that soundly thumped away from home, Donny Craven must be shaking in his grave.
Yeah, definitely. They took a pounding. Tukkies dominated up front. And had some exciting guys running in the backs. Their fullback unfortunately went off injured, replaced by another youngster who cut them apart equally as well. Anyway, sorry about that.
I'd like to be spoken.
Yeah, but the other big upset is UJ rolling Pucker.
They did 10-8 in a hard-fought game. And I mean, it's not an upset in the sense of the scoreline, but still an upset in terms of the result.
Upset in terms of the result. No one really saw that, and I know UJ have got a pretty decent squad, but that you don't expect to see very often. And it was a tight game and did go down to the wire. And then
another upset in Cape Town, and not so much in the sense that UCT won it, but it's how well they won it. 40 points to 13 against the Madibas. Yeah, a bit of a smack for the boys from PE.
Yeah, considering Madibas put 48 past Marty's last year, very kind of chop and change kind of season for them. Same with the Ikes. The Ike Tigers have been up and down the whole season with a draw, a loss, and a win. But massive at the Green Mile, and they play at home again next week, and they're going to be pushing for the top 4 spot, which are currently not in, and the tournament's led at the moment by Tuks, Shimlers, UJ, Pucker. Those are the top 4s, will be your semi-finals, but a point behind Pucker are Ikes, NMMU, Marty's and CUT.
That was played. That Southeaster was pumping last night.
Yes.
I think UCT just used the win better, and then not really an upset, but the first ever Varsity Cup Bloemfontein derby.
Yeah.
Between Shimlers and the Central University of Technology, 57-zip, with that game being stopped for about 10 minutes because of gale force winds and rain and all kinds of chaos in the second
thunder, lightning, sideways rain. It was insane.
God was angry.
Yeah. But it was actually came in at half-time, so the half-time was delayed somewhat. CUT can't get relegated this year. It's their first year in Varsity Cup, so they've got to use this opportunity well to build and sort of put some foundations in place. They are taking a beating, and they really looked nowhere in the beginning against Shimlers, who just dominated. They were going more than a point a minute for most of the first half. CUT faced a couple of yellow cards, but looked really good with ball in hand. They actually, once they were able to recycle it, sort of retain their own ruck ball, they looked very good. They looked quite enterprising and exciting with ball in hand. But Shimlers just dominated at ruck time and just killed them. And CUT lost their first 3 lineouts, 2 of them with attacking ball. So, you look at that and things would be slightly different. But they got a lot to work on.
Doesn't get any easier for them. They got the Green Mile next week, Monday. 4:45 kickoff. I might actually be able to go and watch that one.
The irony is CUT have had all what you'd classify as easy games already. They're in for a tough trip to the end of the year.
And then Marties go to Shimlers, their second away game on the trot. Tuks play Pucker in the big derby, one of the big derbies in varsity rugby in this country. And then the Madibas will entertain UJ at the Madibas Stadium in PE. All of that on Monday next week.
Yeah, the bummer about those fixtures next week is the 2 games that are televised are not the big games of the week for me. And I know they want to rotate who's on TV, etc. But for me, the 2 games that are not on TV are by far the best, are by far the most watchable of the week. So it's a bit of a bummer. So we'll just have to follow them elsewhere.
This is true. Sorry, I'm looking at the week after, going, "What are you talking about?" Yes, I see what you mean. Certainly Picker and Tuks, you'd want to be watching that, but you're not going to be able to. Anyway, let's moving swiftly along. French top 14, and what's the French word for fortress? Bastille.
It's ridiculous.
The results from this weekend, there were no away wins in the Orange top 14 in France, and the only other news that's worth talking about coming out of there is Jamie Roberts looks like he could be leaving Racing. Those are the rumours that are flying around. But
yes,
and Clermont did pick up a draw. So the
at Racing, quite a tight fought game that. But yeah, if you look at who got rolled this weekend, I mean Castres, who are not exactly the force they used to be. They got beaten by Oyonnax, who've been pretty decent. You might be able to pick that. Montpellier got beaten by Grenoble. In that game,
Bordeaux
Reds
beat Toulon.
Yeah, in that game, well, do you mind if I finish? Is that okay? I know you want to jump in, but in the game, there was a massive shoulder charge on Ben Lucas.
Yes.
From Montpellier, and the man was out, like he was out cold. So I'll put that link up a little bit later. And Lyon lost to Toulouse. And Bayonne beat Stade Francais as well.
Yeah, and that, to be honest, is the only real hiding of the weekend, because all the other games finished within 7 to 3 points. Oyonnax Castres 23-13. But Oyonnax, we've seen over the last season or two since they got promoted, they're actually pretty decent at home.
And Castres aren't.
Yeah.
Anyway, home or away. But the big one of the weekend, Bordeaux beating Toulon. Massive.
No, that's
result.
huge. And I mean, 28-23, it's not exactly a pounding, but it's when you consider what's in that Toulon side versus what's floating around in Bordeaux, massive result for the Beglers. Fixtures for this coming up. Do they take a break? No, they don't. Yes, they do.
They're off this weekend.
Yeah, Six Nations this weekend, so there's none of that.
Viva Premiership is on and the Pro 12 is on. It's only the top 14 taking a break.
And in terms of the Aviva Premiership, there was lots of niggle and scrap in plenty of games this weekend. Not exactly the most exciting game yesterday or Sunday between Leicester and London Irish. 12-6, typical European rugby.
It was 12-6 at halftime, just so you know.
Oh my God! Can you imagine sitting there going, the second half's got to be better.
And it wasn't even warm. It's like cold and mist.
And then Sale got up over Saris, 14 points to 10.
Big result. That in terms of the table and what that means, huge. Well, I'll touch on that later.
The London Welsh took another hiding, 48-10. Obviously, Exeter Chiefs getting up over Harlequins at the Stoop. Not often that the Quins get done at home, and certainly by Exeter Chiefs. I know they're not having the greatest this season, but it's the Exeter Chiefs. It's not...
Well, Exeter have been as good this season as Harlequins have been bad. So if you look at just the season, it's probably the result is justified. However, if you look at history, it's not what you'd expect to see.
And then Saints Bath, probably the game of the weekend, with the Saints picking up a win away from home, keeping Bath out of those playoff spots.
No, Bath are in second. That was a 1-2 playoff,
okay.
1 versus 2. So that was a massive result. And Bath were looking to eat away at the Northampton's lead on top of the table. It wouldn't have changed 1 and 2, but it's just increased Northampton's lead.
Yeah, Northampton now look odds on for a home final.
I know
that
with a 9-point lead, with 3 games to play, I think.
Yeah, 3 or 4. There can't be many. What I wanted to say was, and then an entertaining draw on Friday night between some of the lower end of the spectrum, Newcastle and Wasps played to a 23-all draw.
Yes, now that's a massive. I'm telling you, Wasps were looking at 5 points there, and they've kind of slipped up a little bit. Newcastle came out; they were playing some decent rugby. They really looked the better side the whole way through, and Wasps were lucky to get a draw out of that. And Wasps needed a win there. They get a win there, and they're in the top 4 at the end of this weekend. So, a bonus point win, they would have been in the top 4.
Personally, I wouldn't blame London Welsh for not turning up at any of their further fixtures, because they haven't picked up a win this season. They've got 1 loser's point, or was that a 4-try bonus point, whatever it was. Bonus point. Yeah, no, it was a try bonus point. They haven't even got a loser's bonus point.
You're right.
545 points differential in 15
in arrears.
That's diabolical.
Yeah, and Perry announcement this week that Perry Wipu's leaving them. To be fair, he's been off injured, and he doesn't look in the greatest of shape, and he hasn't really been that guy that they were looking for. Well, you can't really have one man turn an entire team, but he's off to France next year, and I struggle to remember who
Pastries are better there.
Well, maybe he'll be making them. He's looking so good.
Games this weekend, just 1 or 2 to touch on. Obviously, Leicester Sale is right up there in terms of chasing for the playoff spots, and Exeter Bath as well. Might be worth a look. And then the Saints intertwine Quins, and you wouldn't be surprised if Harlequins suddenly turn it around. Yeah,
and also a big one that's worth mentioning is London Welsh and London Irish are playing. Irish are playing away at Welsh, and they need a big bonus point win. They're not going to get pushed out, but it's more finishing above Newcastle that they'll be looking at.
Yeah, and they're level on points with Newcastle at the moment.
Newcastle's draw helped them out, and Saracens host Newcastle, and they'll be looking to bounce back. So it's a good opportunity for Irish to pick it up. And Northampton Saints on Friday versus Harlequins. Historically, as we were chatting earlier, is a great game, but Saints looking dominant and Harlequins not so much. So Harlequins struggling this year in the Premiership, but we'll see what's happening.
And on that note, we're going to go to a little bit of a music break. When we come back, we'll be chatting Six Nations ahead of the fixtures this weekend, and there's some very entertaining news in terms of Six Nations rugby. We'll be back after some Kings of Leon and some U2. Welcome back to Driving More, live here on Loud Radio every Tuesday, 11 a.m. Central African time. It used to be Thursday, Sean. I've got 5 kids. I'm allowed to be a bit sketchy. Actually, that all came out wrong as well. Time to talk Six Nations. And the biggest news of the week ahead of the Six Nations games is Marco Castrogiovanni is out of the Italy game. His friend's dog bit him on the nose.
And the best comeback tweet ever was that Northampton have signed the biter and scratcher as to play hooker for them in place of Dylan Hartley, giving him a 2-year contract because he's dirty. I thought that was pretty good. Yes, but freak accident. I was trying to think back.
It's not a freak accident when you put your face close to a dog to try and give it a kiss.
Oh, maybe he loves it. Maybe it's his, maybe it isn't. I actually haven't checked up on that. But I was trying to think of...
it's a friend's dog.
I was trying to think of some some freak accidents that have happened to sportsmen that have kept them out. And the only one I can really think of was Mark Boucher when he cut his finger. I think it was in West Indies. He cut. Yeah, what is that? Sure. Excuse me. The Mark Boucher cut his finger while trying to cut biltong in the West Indies, and he was out for a few games. Like, that was a freak accident. I'm trying to think of something else where someone's like slipped downstairs.
Yeah, there's been one or two guys that have fallen through glass coffee tables in hotel rooms.
Well, Danny Cipriani was hit by a bus. There's one. He was hit by a bus. Apparently, he hadn't been drinking.
He managed to leap up and take the window out as well.
I would also jump if that thing was running at me. I was like, sheesh, what's going to happen? Yeah, I'd rather go over it than go under it.
Coach said, Tim, no need for you to take on the tackle bags this week.
Yeah, that was Danny Cipriani. That was a good one. Now, if you guys have got any other sort of freak injuries that athletes or sportsmen have gone through that have kept them out of, please bomb us a tweet on at Blokes on the Couch or at Judge Rugby, or you can just use the hashtag Driving Maul and we'll mention them a little later.
So Scotland take on Italy on Saturday afternoon. The Scots will feel that they've got a decent opportunity to win that one.
Yeah, especially after driving Wales so close. And they've also brought in
a
few.
Yeah, Vern Cotter's basically increased the size of his squad ahead of the game.
He's basically He's basically taken every single Scottish qualified rugby player in the country and put them in the Welsh squad. So any of the Pro 12 teams this weekend will be playing with foreign players.
In the Welsh squad, did you just say?
No. For some reason, I had Gatlin in my mind. Yeah, Vern's taken most Scottish players out and put them in the Scottish squad. So the Pro 12 is going to be a Safa run event this weekend, by the sounds of things.
Is our friend, the former Lions captain Josh Strauss, not qualified for Scotland yet?
Not yet.
It must be soon. It's a World Cup year.
Yes, it is. He qualifies just before the World Cup. What is...
I don't know.
Wow. Interesting.
There's a poltergeist with gas issues. That is quite random. That's never happened before. It's the third one. I actually thought you'd drop one earlier.
No, my guy. No.
Are you dropping darts in here, Sean?
No.
And then France-Wales playing to make up the numbers, really.
Well, yeah, I tell you, the big thing is Ireland could effectively wrap up the Six Nations by beating England this weekend.
Yes. We were going to get to that game last.
But France-Wales is not really going to... Wales win...
They're in with a shout.
They win well, and England maybe sneak a win somewhere. Then I don't know. It's a bit tight, but the winner of tomorrow's game of the game on the first on Sunday is to me going to be the champion.
That's effectively a title decider. Quite early on in the competition, there's still 2 games to go after this. At the same time, if there's a draw in that, it's suddenly all open for whoever wins Wales-France.
This is very true. And let's be honest, with the weather that the English have been having, the United Kingdom in general, and the way everyone's been playing. Maybe if Stuart Lancaster's listening to this, just start Danny Cipriani. if I just think the match should start. We have some exciting rugby and dominate Ireland in Dublin.
He's strong enough to be hit by buses and survive. In fact, I think he played that weekend.
And he spent time with James O'Connor and Kurtley Beale in the same squad and didn't land up in jail.
Claimed close, though, for stealing a bottle of vodka.
Yeah, no, but he didn't go to jail, which is the most important thing.
So France and Wales, they will both be looking for a win. Essentially, whoever loses France and Wales is out of the running completely. And then, assuming that there's a draw in England-Ireland, it could still be all open. I, though, have a suspicion that the Irish will get up over the English fairly. I wouldn't say comfortably, but I just think between the forwards, anything's possible. Then the other news was that Frenchman got a 10-week ban after apologising via Twitter to Jamie Heaslip, who said it's okay, it's a game.
Yeah, I know. Shocker, he deserves it. I think the one flaw I do have is that all this stuff came out. So he had his hearing after they found out what was wrong with Heaslip, which I'm sure may have affected his ban, considering the seriousness of Heaslip's injury. I don't think that should have happened that way, to be honest. I still think he should have got a lengthy ban. I just think that it may have influenced it, and it's not probably the right way to go about it. But yeah, Pape out for 10 weeks and deserved. But the thing is that the France-Wales game, and because it's being played before the England-Ireland game, Wales and France have a very good chance of beating each other by a massive margin. And considering France currently have a points difference of 0 and Wales have a points difference of -2, if one of them win by 30 or 40 points, then their points difference helps. And if there's a draw, as you mentioned, they could shoot to top of the log. It's quite a tough one this weekend, but
essentially in a competition where you get 2 points for a win, 1 for a draw, and no bonus points for losing or tries, it is still wide open, even though it doesn't look like it in terms of. It has the potential for being wide open, especially given, as you said, the nature of European rugby fields and weather. And
England's still got to play France. So England win and France beat England, and France put in some big scores somewhere, or it's massive, and it's been such an exciting tournament every year, especially with Ireland winning it at the death last year. So it's, as much as I like to see bonus points, it's quite fun anyway.
So. The general consensus is we think the Scots will see the Italians off. We believe that Wales should be too strong for France. I just think the French...
They should, but the French are the French, and they're just a bit weird at the moment.
I know, but it's just... The thing is that when their heads go when they're not in the running anymore, and they're not in the running anymore, which is the way they'll look at it.
Wales, actually, you're right. Wales won't be in the running. Oh, they will, because they're still going to play England. Yeah, interesting. Well, let's see. Let's chat next week about this, because it'll be a little bit more clearer next week.
It will indeed. It'll probably be all over Red Rover. So that's the Six Nations. I suppose we can get onto Super Rugby and take a break halfway through. And let's get on to
let's chat about those red cards.
Yeah.
Let's chat about the red cards this weekend.
Absolutely. First thing, though, was the news about Sean Feltzman. I mean, I know we all take issue with some of his decisions as a TMO, but for someone to attack him on his way home and stab him through his window in the lung, and looks like he's going to miss being TMO for the Ireland-England game.
He was supposed to be up for Six Nations, so that's quite a...
But happy to say that he's actually fine, aside from having a hole in himself, and all he did was lose a cell phone.
Yes, and they left his laptop on the back. But it was it a hijacking? Was it a theft? It wasn't a rugby-related thing, was it? No one said anything. I'm just asking.
Hayden Triggs.
Triggs deserved that. But on the topic of Triggs,
yes.
There were 3 very... Okay, maybe if I get excited, I'll get... There were 3 red cards this weekend.
Yes.
And 2 of them... Hayden Triggs was one, where he hit Dwayne Vermeulen. Now, he's got a 1-week ban, which is absolutely ludicrous. The fact that he was worried that he got a red card in the very beginning, both him and Kano were like, "What? Red card?" And Joubert looked at him and said, "You just punched him in the face. That is a red card."
Well, and what you key to remember in that whole situation is the RB's changed the rules for this season in that a blow to the face or the head of an opponent is a straight red. There's no more of this dilly-dallying yellow cards for smacking
I agree.
people.
It's exactly the way it should be.
Yeah, absolutely.
So often it happens, if someone punches or does something to someone, they give a yellow card. Yep. It's the referees are the ones that are making the mistake here for me. But anyway, definitely a red card. I don't know what happened to start it, to be quite fair with you.
Well, they didn't pick it up either on the cameras.
It was there, you just couldn't see it. It was too far away. But Dwayne got smacked properly. Yep. He got hit properly once in the face. You think maybe there's another one that goes to the ground, but Triggs has reacted to something, to what I don't know. But you don't lash out and smash someone in the face like that straight off the bat unless something happened. So Dwayne was bleeding, and I think he may have taken a little bit of responsibility for that. So yeah, there's a 1-week ban, which is quite a big sort of talking point at the moment. The other one was the red card in the French top 14. I think his surname was Brice. He was the one who smashed Lucas. Lucas was kind of had his back to sort of the play and passed backwards, and this guy came in and smashed him, and Lucas was out cold, so he got a red card. I don't know what else is going on there. And then unfortunately, Lichtoring Landman for Newport Gwen Dragons, he's the captain and had a pretty good season for them, has kind of
a Newport Lighthouse.
He's someone, one of the guys from Connacht has put a kick in, a sort of a clearing kick, and Landman's gone in a little bit late, and his elbow and forearm are up, and he smashed the guy with his elbow in the face, and Oak's also out cold. Landman's come out and said, listen, it was disgusting, and he's quite embarrassed about what happened, so he's taken responsibility for that, but we're waiting to see in terms of what happens with the ban.
And now let's get on to another punching incident, because there was a punch-up in the Crusaders Highlanders game between Owen Franks and Kane Hamies. Franks has picked up a 2-game ban.
It's Hames.
Hames.
Okay.
And Kane Hames has picked up a 5-week ban.
Yes. I must be honest, I did that game, and I don't remember it. I don't remember.
No, I don't think it was picked up by anybody. But there's been an after-game sighting for both of them.
Yes.
And they've both been pinged 2 and 5 games each. And then there was someone else who's been given a 10-game ban, and I've completely forgotten.
That was Pape. We spoke about him earlier on.
No, there's another one in
Super Rugby.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
Oh. Well, we'll get back onto that while Don looks for it. And then the other thing I want to talk about is just a little bit of fun this weekend. Did Jesse Creel, for me, he impressed me. I was a little bit apprehensive to give the guy my full backing. I was just a bit worried about him stepping up into Super Rugby. But did you see him bounce Franks?
I actually didn't see the game, but I've heard...
He's counter-attacked, and he's got the ball in the right hand, and Franks has gone reasonably high, as a prop would go on a fullback, because he wants to smash him. And Creel has just bounced him and flattened Franks, and then run over him and carried on with his run. Unbelievable. It was the start. It was the first bit of the break that you'll see on the highlights. Unbelievable work. And then you picked up one. You picked up the Lucky Turner
try for the Reds against the Force. The Luke Morahan comes across on the covered defence, 5 metres out from the try line, and Lucky Turner ran through him, not round him, over him. He fucking ran through a guy twice his size who was coming across him. It wasn't like he hit him front on. I didn't realise how hard and solid Lachlan Turner is. He bounced him properly, and there must be your reputation must be shot to shit for the rest of your career. If it's understandable if like Tuilagi or one of those big Kiwi wingers are the ones that run you over, but Lachlan Turner is the size of a halfback.
Yeah, I wouldn't go saying he's that small. He's a hardish guy, but I agree with you. That was quite entertaining. And then Nick Groom with a try this weekend, but it was his birthday, and I'm very sure it was his birthday on Saturday. It was his birthday on Friday or Saturday, but I'm fairly confident it was on Saturday, and he got a try on his birthday. Don't you deserve double points for that?
Possibly. Talking birthdays, it's the Bok captain's birthday on his road to recovery ahead of the World Cup. We still don't know whether he will actually be there. Time will tell. And then other news has just come out of Reinhard Elstedt. I mean, that I could just... You know what? He plays with his heart on his sleeve, and he'll run through a brick wall for you. But unfortunately, he seems to run through brick walls the wrong way, because he has broken a leg and torn 3 knee ligaments, or ligaments in his knee.
Ligaments.
Yeah, he's torn 3 ligaments in his knee and broken his fibula, and he is out for 4 months, they reckon.
Yeah.
He's only just come back from injury.
It's a massive blow for the Stormers, and for a guy who I was also waiting to do something stupid and get a red card because of his discipline. He's been playing very well in the last 2 games. And, you know, if you look into it as well, it's another lock option for the Stormers that is gone. They're running pretty thin at lock. The Lucy's guys will cover, because I know that Gandalf the Massive will come back, and Noche will come back. So
and Skalkberger arrives in Cape Town this week and will be available for the Sharks game next week.
Yeah. So in terms of Lucy's, but we'll have to see what's happening. I know the Stormers got rid of Taz Fazani. He played a few games last year, but he's at EP at the moment, so maybe they'll ask for him to come back. I don't know.
And then finally, before we get on to talking about the weekend's results and fixtures, etc., Carmichael Hunt, supposed to be the next big thing in Australian rugby, has been stood down by the Reds after being charged with...
Not charged. He's been asked to go to court.
in connection with supplying cocaine.
Yes. Yeah, but in fairness, he's got to go to court. He's got to go to answer questions. There were a group of people, and his name is there.
Yeah, a whole bunch of guys from his former rugby league side.
Yes, he hasn't been named as one of the guys or arrested, but they thought it was a good idea to
where it stinks their shit.
Yeah, but you know. It's tough if there's a group of people and you play with them and they're your mates. You could just as well be innocent as you are guilty. So I think but I tell you, the Reds came back so well from that, because James O'Connor went into 10 for them. Then just before kickoff, he was pulled out, and they put in Nick Frisbee at 10, who's actually a scrum half. Genia had the game of his life. Frisbee was phenomenal, and the Reds rolled the forward
pass.
Yeah, but I thought Frisbee handled the game very well, kicked exceptionally well out of hand, and for what happened to the Reds and the amount of changes they had to go and all the shit that hit the fan pre-game, and with the weather and everything, yes, I thought they stepped up to the plate.
Yeah, well, I mean, okay, let's get on to this weekend's results, and we may as well, because we're talking about it, let's start on that one, because I was 6 out of 7 on Super Brew. The Reds haven't beaten the Force in 5 previous Super Rugby games. So you would have thought that picking the Force to beat the Reds would be a sure thing in your Super Brew predictions, and the rest of it kind of a lottery based on what went on. And no.
You, my friend, you are like that guy that tries to do the same thing every week and expects different results. How can you say sure thing after last week? Hey?
Well,
you had 7 games to look at. Things not happening.
But after last week, the Force looked good and the Reds looked shit, and you just went in that game based on history, last 5 seasons, that with the Reds not picking up a win.
I'm with you because I picked the Force too. I picked the Force by 10. I got sweet FA there.
I got 9 points, and that cost me
your Grand Slam.
Grand Slam plus a win point. And anyway, picked up a few margin points on the way through. And as he said, the Reds got up 18-6 over the Force. The Force did not look good at all.
No.
And Lucky Turner, as we said, ran over Luke Morahan for the only try of the game. And it was, as you said, it was a disjointed Red side that last-minute changes, Nick Frisbee coming in at fly half. And he hasn't exactly had the best pre-season or early season at halfback, so very surprised that he came good.
Will Genia, for me, I abused him last week, and I've been abusing him for the last few months, and everyone said he's class. Yes, he is, but he stepped up to the plate properly on Saturday. Another man, and something that is directly related to how Will Genia played, was Adam Thompson. Adam Thompson was a machine.
Yeah,
it was an absolute machine. And in the very beginning, when the NOU didn't renew his contract, when he was with the Highlanders, I speak under correction, and he left, I was like, I can't believe it. He's a current All Black. He was currently in the All Black squad, and they did not renew his contract, and he left Super Rugby almost into retirement, then went to Japan to play, and has now got back into Super Rugby. He hasn't lost it, and to think for the last 4 years we've missed that. I couldn't understand the decision in the very beginning.
No, it never really makes sense. Talk about not understanding decisions. The Chiefs beat the Brumbies 19-7. The Brumbies turned down 4 or 5 kickable penalties in that game, and I just don't understand that. I can understand going for the bonus point try when you've got 3 in the bag and you're leading by 20, but to kick everything to the corner a la Alistair Coetzee, to try and get a rolling ball try that doesn't come off time and time again, and to keep doing it, well done to the Chiefs, but they really didn't deserve to win that.
Yeah, did you say 19-7 or 19-17? Yeah, it was tight, and they had to kick in the last minute to win it, and they were always in with the chance to win it. The Brumbies looked the better side through and through. But
no, they bossed it.
I agree with you. They need to take their points. And you, as a captain, and the adrenaline's pumping, and you've got your side, the opposition beat. You think, well, we're going to roll over and get 7 points. It's a no-brainer. And then they mess it. If you looked at the way I can't remember who it was, but in the first week, it was the Brumbies. Ironically, it was the Brumbies who played that way. They got the points on the board early. They just started ticking over and gaining a good advantage, and then closed it off in the second half.
Which is why what they did on Friday made absolutely no sense whatsoever. The other game on Friday, absolute cracker of an Aussie derby, it has to be said. We usually lambaste the Aussie derbies for being cuck and boring,
as they do us.
Yeah, 38-28 over the Rebels, but an absolute cracker of a game. And the Waratahs only really won that in the last 5 to 10 minutes when they scored a couple of tries to run away with it. The Rebels well in it, and the first time the Rebels have picked up a bonus point, a try bonus point in an Aussie derby in Super Rugby history. So there are lots of firsts for them this season. First away win. Outside of New Zealand, outside of Australia last week. On to the Bulls.
Whoa, sorry.
Yes,
hi.
Sorry, okay.
No.
Let's go.
I thought Curtly Beale in that game, everyone's talking about him. I didn't think he was that great. He was good in terms of setting up things and towards the latter half.
Stuff came off for him.
Yes, it started working, but Beale was out of the mix. So if you can get him The thing is he likes to take his chances. So if you give him that opportunity, it will eventually work for him. But if you close him down, he seems to be quite well sort of taken care of. And I thought that that Tamati Ellison and Mitch Inman handled him at 12 and sort of in that centre channel quite well in the beginning. But he came through in the end, and his class came through without a doubt. And it was brilliant. I think he single-handedly won the game, sort of shifted the momentum in the Waratahs' favour and helped them win it at the end, and getting himself a try. But
that big winger of theirs, 123 kilograms, doesn't do much else.
Yeah, he got a yellow card though,
and 2 tries.
Yeah, he's a big chap.
I think he touched the ball 3 times.
He did. He touched the ball. He touched the ball once, scored a try. Touched the ball a second time, scored a try, and then threw the ball out, got a yellow card, and then I think he may have set up 1 try as well. Insane stuff. 3 touches, 2 tries, and a yellow card. That's brilliant.
Yeah. Good day's work.
Yeah, very interesting game. That the Waratahs are a nice win away from home for them. The Rebels are there. They will cause upsets if they can just keep it together. I think, it's almost like another big a loss for them again soon, or in 2 weeks, or 2 weeks of losses might be the straw that breaks the camel's back. If they can hold it together and stay mentally strong, they will put up a fight for the rest of the season.
And that Scotty Higginbotham, he's a liability and an asset on a rugby field. Really is. I love him.
I agree. Can I tell you something I picked up that I'll tweet all these videos and stuff. We'll tweet. Tom English and Sean McMahon had a little bet. It's the most insane thing. Tom English bets McMahon, because Tom English doesn't have a tattoo or doesn't want one or something. Says to McMahon, if you get bees on your knees, I'll get a face on my arm. So Sean McMahon has tattooed 2 cartoon bumblebees on his knees, and Sean McMahon had to get a tattoo on his arm, a face on his arm. He's got two dots for eyes and a smiley face. So his nickname now is Emoji. And he turns at the end of the interview and he goes, that was a very poor life decision I just made there. But anyway, they show the footage of McMahon's bumblebees. Absolutely brilliant, and that's the kind of crap that boys get up to on tour.
That is daft. Talking about daft, all the talk about the Bulls pre-season, 2 home games, 2 losses, 2 bloody piss poor. But the most interesting thing that came out of all of that was the blokes from the Yellow Cap wrote an open letter to Loftus and actually got a response from the hierarchy. And I think that is an outstanding effort by the Bulls Rugby Union.
Yes, I did. Great.
It doesn't change anything about how cuck they've been, but it means that they're paying the fans the respect that they deserve. They're the guys that pay the tickets, that pay the salaries, that fill the stadiums.
Yes, well, it was the Blue Bulls president who replied, and I've heard a lot of good things about him, and he's very passionate about rugby. That
happened at Newlands.
He's very passionate about his rugby and his club rugby. I know he's quite heavily involved with the club rugby and helping the SA club rugby guys. His response was a great neutral fend type of response. It just answered the questions but didn't commit to anything, and he just basically replied.
That's it. Yeah. It's irrelevant what was in the letter. Yeah. And it's the fact that there was a letter.
I just thought, I was not one of those guys that was talking the Bulls up at the end of the season, at the beginning of the season. I really thought that they struggle at scrum time, which has been like stock standard for them in their entire history of Blue Bulls and Blue Bulls rugby and stuff like that. And it's just been poor. The irony is they've got their stuff right in terms of getting their mauls together, which has been pretty good, but they've got a very, very young squad. They did not plan. There was no succession planning over the last few years. Wonder who that was. Okay, because it's not happening in the Springboks. And they've kind of, when everyone left and was injured or out of form, they had really no one to come up and take the mantle. And now Spiss was okay this weekend. He wasn't great, but give the guy a break. It's his second game, his third game. It's his second Super Rugby game. Victor Matfield looks a little bit tired. It looks like a season too long, which, if I may pat myself on the back, I predicted last year. I thought maybe this World Cup year will be one too much for him.
I think the other problem that the Bulls have got is that they overcapitalise themselves on buying all the young talent floating around in this country, and then when all of their superstars decided, you know what, we're going to go and earn some pound yen and euro, they didn't have the capital to go and pull big name players from other unions. I know they've picked up Strauss and Labuschagne, but they've lost a hell of a lot more than they gained in the off season.
It's just a weird thing, and I don't believe that in this day and age that you have such a thing as a rebuilding phase. To me, it shouldn't happen. You've got ample time to blood and bring people in. Having said that, the Bulls could quite easily have won that game. Grant Hutton went in the corner, and
that's up there with that Waratahs winger tossing the ball away in terms of dumb things that I've seen on a rugby field.
The Bulls have a lot of the backline players, and it's not just Pierce specific to Mattville. The Bulls have a lot of their backline players, have a lot of their forwards in the backline. Hutton found himself on the wing. I can't remember how it came about. It could have, you know what I mean? It could have been quick ball out wide and back again, which you can understand. But he found himself out wide in the wing, and the basics weren't done properly.
You don't put your hand down before the ball.
Yeah, but he's not experienced in that space and everything. But he's gone
a pro rugby player.
Correct. And it's just a bad move.
He basically put his hand in touch before he dotted down.
Yeah, and listen, it wasn't a massively in touch, but it was tight.
But it slid in, and when you look at it, he didn't need to. 2 hands on the ball and fall over, golden. And it's a try. It wins the game.
So it was
costly,
very costly. That was their win, and it was a tight one. And a lot of the Bulls fans will feel aggrieved by it. I wasn't sure of the referee's question to the TMO. Do you remember?
I didn't actually watch the game.
Okay, and it was just poor, and that was their win, and that's the kind of things that used to go the Bulls' way and goes some sides ways and some sides not, and the Bulls are on the wrong end of the stick at the moment.
And I think what happened on that try was the touchy. The referee's assistant was unsure as to whether the hand had gone out before the ball went down, which is why the question was asked. But who knows? First game on Saturday morning, Crusaders. Do you want to take a break?
Yeah. Then we can finish off Saturday after one song.
Okay. We can do that.
Because we got a lot to talk about. How good the Sharks were. How good the Stormers were.
Welcome back to Driving Maul, live here on Loud Radio every Tuesday, 11 a.m. Central African time. Quickly, just to round off, in fact we won't do it quickly, we'll quickly round up for the games ahead this weekend, but just to round off this weekend's fixture, Crusaders Highlanders. We all thought the Highlanders would be a bit underdone because they hadn't played the week before, and the Crusaders always looked like being the favourites to win that one, but geez, it was a tight one, 26-20 eventually the final score. And it ebbed and flowed in terms of who dominated and who scored all the points. Malachi Fikatoa, got to be a pleasure to watch that guy play rugby.
Yeah, very handy. Aaron Smith as well, good finish in his...
and then young Scott Barrett, who came into the side and very, very impressive.
Yeah, it's very seldom that
Bowden Barrett's little brother.
Really?
Big little brother.
It's very seldom the Crusaders bring someone in and put him into Super Rugby that's not ready for it, to be fair. But I didn't actually realise he was Barrett's brother.
He is indeed.
Well.
And then, Aaron Smith picked up a try, Lima Sabaga with the kicks, and obviously Colin Slade playing at fly half with Dan Carter out injured again. And then the second game on Saturday morning, we've
Reds
already
Force.
touched. We've done
the Force were exceptionally poor. It must be said though. They looked like the ones that had the tough week. And I don't think they were quite ready for what the Reds dished up, and just kind of went into a flat spin and didn't finish it off. But
and the Reds would have been wounded after the drubbing they took in Canberra the week before.
I tell you, Sluk van Wyk, or Francois van Wyk, South African boy, got his first start, lasted 5-10 minutes and buggered up his arm quite badly. He was replaced by Chris Heiberg, another South African boy, who got a yellow card after a few minutes for a ruck infringement.
It's the second week running that the Force have lost a front ranker in the opening 10.
I thought Albie Mathewson was his usual good self. Junior Rasselia, brilliant, and Kyle Godwin, brilliant as well. Yeah.
On to the Stormers versus the Blues, and I suppose a win's a win. But when you play against 14 men for 55 minutes and you don't get a bonus point try at home, there are issues. Try of the weekend in this one, for my money personally, Dylan Lades takes a clearance kick from the Blues down on the left-hand touchline. He's basically leaning over the touchline to catch the ball, takes it over his right shoulder and spins out and back in field under the attentions of whoever was chasing for the Blues, and then ghosts in from 45 out.
The Blues player had jumped for the ball, so he just mistimed it, and later's come up.
But you still got to have the wherewithal to take that ball underneath the jumping player on the touchline, and then...
Oh, it was a good piece of work. I thought his step and creating the space afterwards was much better. I thought his try finish wasn't so great.
His dive's got a bit of work. Brian O'Bannon might need to be brought in for some skills on diving there.
I agree with you, and I'm often overcritical on the Stormers, and we were last year.
Not as often as me.
But I thought they should have done better. Yes, the Blues have lost a tight 5 player, and Triggs is... I'm still baffled by how he got 1 week, but they also they should have been beaten by more. Stormers should have got a bonus point win there, and I hope they don't rue that at the end of the season.
You have to. You're playing 55 minutes against 14 men and a 7-man pack at home with the driving maul that we've got and the forwards that we had. It's not acceptable as far as I'm concerned.
Koch is good.
That strawberry chocolate and vanilla front row for the Stormers is actually fairly impressive.
Yes, it is. I'll tell you one thing, Bonge Manambi. It was not long before he starts a game, I don't think. And I like Scurra, I really do.
Look,
but the both of them, Bongi offers something different. They're two different hookers, which is great.
He is a great pulfer from the Bulls Rugby Union, as far as I'm concerned.
Massive. It's about time. Stormers owed them a few, 1,000. But talk about pulfer. He definitely fits into that Bismarck du Plessis where he's another loose forward on the park.
And then, as we said, Elstad wrecked his knee. He's out for the season. Not much else really to talk about in this one.
Tomorrow, 10 o'clock, they're on the Stormers side. I'd like to see what happens with the loose forwards and who comes in on the bench. That is going to be massive for me.
And just crucial in this, the Stormers had scored 2 tries before Triggs got sent off.
Yes, I know.
They didn't score a try. I can't fathom it! And anyway, let's talk about... We've got to hear Alistair Couture galvanised the Blues. Fuck off!
Let's talk about real rugby and a great side.
Yeah, do you know what? No. I'll happily talk about this because, let's be honest, it didn't look like that game was going to go ahead in Durban.
My word.
It looked like a swimming pool, not a rugby field, just prior to kick-off. They did great work to, A, get it playable, and then, B, to actually get 80 minutes of rugby in on the field. And I was tweeting about it when I saw the pictures pre-game, and I said, and I will happily say this, and I've said it before, and I've said it ever since he made his debut in the rain at fullback for the Sharks against Province and was man of the match under the high ball. Province tried to put him under huge pressure. Patrick Lambie, in the wet weather, is the best wet weather rugby player we have got in this country at the moment, by a country mile, as far as I'm concerned, and I'm talking guys that are based in South Africa. Because we can get into whole conversations about other players. Patrick Lambie, best wet weather rugby player, and obviously, and by that I mean player as in that controls and manages the game.
You're wasting time by trying to explain this. I think Patrick Lambie has probably put his hand up again this season. 2 games in. He had a good game in the first game, which was a loss. He did have a good game.
But Henny Kamara was watching the football and doesn't know this.
Yes, I know. And also, in this game, I thought he was exceptional again. It's something, we definitely, and I keep saying, we need to have 2 Class 10s at the World Cup, and we've got them, Pollard and Lambie. There's no who's number 1. Let's take 2. Okay, let's know that they're both number 1, and we will rotate them and use them. Maybe someone picks up a light niggle. You've got 2 guys that are on form. We are in a very good space when it comes to 10. We need to sort out 9, 12, and 13.
And let's be honest, there is still a possibility that one Jean de Villiers is not fit for the World Cup, and then Lambie and Pollard, in my opinion, are the 10-12 axis for the World Cup.
Yeah.
Unless Frans Steyn... They can manage to stroke his balls the right way and get him back in the fold.
And Allender's still in the mix, and he's going to be playing 12 all season in place of Jean. So it's quite interesting. But big thing though, in that weather and what had happened, there is a bonus point win for the Sharks, and that was massive. Marcel Coetzee got a double, I think, but he's got the bonus point try.
beast.
It was an exceptional display by the Sharks, and the Lions are in a bit of poo.
Yeah, well, the teams either side of the Yerkes just don't look like they belong in this competition.
The two sides for South Africa this year are by far the Stormers and the Sharks. There's no doubt about it. And the Cheetahs had a week off, so I'd like to see how they come back next week.
What is interesting, before we get on to fixtures for this weekend, is the tables, because it's quite clear from looking at the New Zealand and the South African tables in terms of who the forerunners are. That's kind of been blown wide open in both of those, with the Highlanders and the Blues and the Bulls and the Lions floating down the bottom. But in the Australian Conference, there are 2 points between top and bottom.
Watch the Aussies for the World Cup. Just be careful, the Australians.
Stormers sit top without having scored a bonus point try. Okay.
And you expecting bonus point tries?
No.
Why?
I'm used to this. As I said a few weeks ago, and I think it's down now to, I think we've got a maximum of 17 games left of Alistair Coetzee Cup, and then we'll have a new coach.
Loving the fact that the Sharks are having a win and a loss. They got 6 points. I thought that's pretty decent.
Losers point, bonus point, those things help. Fixtures for this weekend, round 3.
Yeah, we started.
Obviously, the Cheetahs did well this weekend. They didn't lose because they didn't play.
Well, they won their first game. So Friday morning, we open up with Highlanders Reds. That could be fun. Highlanders, the Reds come off a great win, and Highlanders
second game in
good nick
and look a decent enough side. I think that as we said, it's tough being the side that gets a bye on the first round to try and
followed by Force Hurricanes.
Indeed. And
Canes travel back. Force got a point to prove.
Here's an interesting stat. That is the third week of Super Rugby 2015, and we have yet to have a Kiwi derby on a Friday morning.
Thank you. Then Friday evening, Cheetahs Blues. That could be interesting because the Cheetahs are high flying, however had a week off, and the Blues are not having a good tour. So,
but at the same time, Kiwi sides tend to be a bit better in their second week in the Republic after they've run amok in,
or as they call it, Africa. Saturday morning, we start off with an absolute cracker, Chiefs Crusaders.
Yeah.
That's going to... Crusaders are a little bit on the way up.
It'll be like 15-9 final score.
I don't know. We could see some stuff.
I mean, defensively, and that's just getting onto that Brumbies side. Like the Chiefs, we know they defend like Trojans. Why do you keep wanting to go for the rolling maul try and it's not working? They deserve to lose the bloody game.
After that, Rebels Brumbies and Aussie Derby.
And should be a cracker because it's 1-1 lost one for both of them.
I think be careful the Brumbies.
Yeah, it's highly possible. And then the Bulls Sharks, shame. The Bulls, it just goes from...
It's at Loftus.
It goes from cuck to cucker.
It's at Loftus, and they like to pick up their game for the Sharks. They got good memories against the Sharks. And
that if their Shark side plays the way the Shark side is playing, and the Bulls side play the way the Bulls side are playing, it can be nothing other than a massacre.
That's a proper game for Bookwatch as well.
Yes.
Which we will discuss next week. We'll start picking some guys to keep an eye on for the Springbok side. But Lambie up against Pollard and Jesse Creel at fullback and the centres. Oh, exciting stuff! And the final game of the weekend.
That's the one the Stormers like to lose. They don't like to go to Ellis Park. Lions take on the Stormers in Joburg. Look, logic prevails that the Stormers win that one based on current form, but unfortunately history indicates that the Stormers tend to lose in Joburg. We'll make our predictions later in the week. We've learnt our lesson not to make the score predictions until we've seen team lineups. Sharky, it's been awesome.
Thank you. Just quickly, I want to touch on the Community Cup very briefly. It started off this weekend.
It did indeed.
Hammy's got a very come from behind 1 point. Very good come from behind 1 point victory against Sishen. Durbell unfortunately lost this weekend against PE Police, if I'm not mistaken. But Community Cup up and running properly.
And did you see the red card in the televised game?
No, I saw yellow. I didn't see the red. It's the second yellow. Yes. No, you got one yellow. But this Saturday, 2:30, my understanding, Hammies will host Wanderers and it will be televised on SuperSport. So have a look at my side playing a bit of ruggers this weekend on SuperSport. And there's a bit of history between Wanderers and Hammies in terms of like historical history, not game history and violence. But Community Cup's up and running. So give it a watch.
Looking forward to it. Awesome. Sharky, I'll chat to you Friday morning when we were doing commentary for that very same... what did we say it was? I'm losing the plot here. It are Chiefs Highlanders on Friday morning, which... No, it's Highlanders Reds. Highlanders Reds, commentary with balls, with blokes on the couch at Live here on Loud Radio. Until then, enjoy the rest of the sport this weekend. This week, there's plenty of Wêreldbeker cricket going on, and the Chris Gale show. If you missed it, find the highlights, because that is just ridiculous, that innings. Chat to you soon.